Hey guys, what is up? This is Cody, or xCodeh. How's it going today? On today's video, I'm telling you the tale of one of the most enlightening, crazy, insane experiences I've ever had in my entire life. And now I would like to say really quick before this video starts, very quick, I won't ramble, I promise you. I'd just like to share my knowledge of the importance of test kits. If you ever do anything like this in your entire life, you always want to buy a test kit. Better be safe than sorry, because there's been a couple other experiences I'll tell you guys about, not relating to this video, that were terrible, and you don't want to do that. There's tons of fake stuff constantly going around the world, and you don't want to be doing that, okay? Always buy a test kit. So the story of the first time I've ever tripped on acid. This was a very highly requested video for me to go back on after YouTube smited me. And this took place back when I was way too young to be doing this kind of stuff. I cannot believe that I did this young, but I think I was 13 or 14 years old. I think I was either a freshman or a sophomore in high school. This was when I first met one of my first weed plugs. I used to skip the last period of the day at school and just go over their house and just sit around and watch movies and smoke weed. It was honestly some of the best memories of high school, as sad as that sounds, but it was super chill, and I'll always miss it and look back on it. Something about just skipping school, smoking weed with your friends, knowing that everybody else is in school, you just feel like such a badass, dude. So it was about to be the summertime, and they were telling me that this new acid was coming to town. It was going to be here in a couple days. They had a connection that was hitting them up, like, you know, it's gonna be here in a couple days, and they were so excited about it. Every day we'd hang out, they would tell me stories of this time they did it. They went to this music festival and did it, and it was just incredible. And me being super young and impressionable, I was very interested in it. The first time they mentioned it to me, actually, I think it was either when they mentioned it to me, I looked it up again, but the first time I ever looked it up was in health class because, you know, they went down the list of drugs that were absolutely terrible. You know, they'll ruin your life. And I remember when they got to weed, they were like, you know, just saying the most ridiculous stuff. So I ended up looking up every drug because I wanted to know the actual facts on it. It's actually kind of bullshit that they lie so much in health class. Either way, I remember getting to this one drug, acid, and watching a lot of documentaries on it, and it seemed so mystical and something I was really curious about. And then now my friends that I smoke weed with all the time are telling me they're about to have it. So I was like, maybe I should try that. I asked one of the friends there, and they're like, yo, we're totally gonna do that with you. Don't even worry. You know, it's kind of strong, but it's just a little bit stronger than weed. I believed it too. I really did believe it. I trusted them at that point. I didn't think there's any reason for them to fuck me over or anything, but a little bit stronger than weed, huh? Yeah. No. So I get excited because I think it's, you know, just a little bit stronger than weed. A couple days go by and they ended up getting it. And now I'm trying to figure out in my mind. I was like fucking 14 years old. There's no way in hell that my dad would have let me sleep over a random friend's house that he's never met the parents or anything. My dad was real controlling over that. Understandably, obviously. Look at what I was trying to do, okay? So I make up a plan, expert level plan, of literally just leaving my house without telling my dad where I'm going, turning off my phone. Just terrible. Horrible. I'm looking back on it, and you know, I just can't imagine if I had a kid that just disappeared for a day. Shitty. But hey, that's what I did. I hit up my friend. It was about 7 o'clock at night, and I'm like, hey, come pick me up here. Walk over to the pickup spot, feeling like I'm in a Call of Duty mission, getting picked up by Captain Price in a helicopter. Starbucks, you should totally sponsor. Actually, this isn't the kind of video I should ask for a sponsorship, but hey, these are fucking great. I'm super nervous. As soon as I get in their car, I'm like, oh my god. This is like the first time that I'd ever went MIA, and my dad just like left the house, didn't tell him where I was going. At the time, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really feel that bad because I was so nervous about what I was about to do. I was so like curious, nervous, anxious. And we make it back to their house, and they're just going on about how amazing it's gonna be, how excited they were. We go into their room, sit down, and my friend packs a couple bowls, but their parents were home, so we couldn't smoke inside. So we went outside, walked over to a path, and we're sitting there smoking a bowl. And I remember specifically one of my friends there told me, Cody, you might not want to do that because the acid's really strong and weed makes it more intense. I'm like, nah, fuck it, dude. I'll just smoke all the weed I want. I remember we smoked like 2 or 3 bowls. I got stony baloney because back then my tolerance was nothing. I was a fucking piece of styrofoam, man. It was, I could get blasted off of one hit. I still kind of can, I'm not gonna lie. Like I get fucking ripped off of one bong rip, but back then it was crazy. I'd have like borderline psychedelic experiences when I'd smoke weed. My friends used to love it. just getting me blasted. So we smoke some bowls. I go inside, stoned as hell. We all go back into their room. We all sit down, and it's time. A homie whips out the little tin foil container they got it in, break it open, and there it is. My friend cuts it up into little tabs, little pieces, and they both put it in their mouth. And my friend goes to hand mine to me, and it's hanging off of like scissors, and I go to pick it up with my hand. He's like, no, open your mouth, I got you. And he put it in my mouth because like he told me that if he just handed it to me, I would have just sat there and contemplated it, and they just did it so that wanted to, like, you know, to kick in at the same time. And I'm not gonna lie, I was literally thinking that as he handed it to me. I was like, oh, I don't know. I was like thinking about it. I'm like, I'm gonna be sitting here with this for a while, aren't I? Put it right in my mouth. And this is where a lot of you guys, a lot of the experts in the chat are gonna be like, oh, he didn't even do real acid. It was bitter. I'm not gonna lie, it was bitter. The person they got it from said that it was some protective coating because it was the summertime and it's supposed to not let the heat ruin the potency. Listen to me. I'm quite aware. It was probably not real, but at the same time, the effects that it gave me were so accurate to what other people have said about like real acid. And I know that there's an assortment of other research chemicals that are kind of close to it, but this was one of the only times that I think it was actually real. I'll explain more about the other experiences in future videos. So I was a little bitter, and I know that the rule is if it's a bitter, it's a spitter, but I trusted these people I was with. I'm glad I did because it was a pretty amazing time. So we ended up washing it down with some like fruit punch. I forgot the brand, but that shit is fire. I think it's like Hawaiian punch or something. Man, so good. Oh, you know what it was? It was the strawberry banana V8 fusion. Oh yeah, I remember that exactly. It's such a weird taste. I can't drink it now because I just think of that bitterness, that taste from that night. So I remember letting it kind of dissolve in my mouth, and then it just was kind of like a wet piece of paper, just kind of mush. Swallowed that down, and now I'm just sitting there waiting, pretty stoned from the weed, and I'm sitting there really anticipating this insane experience because, you know, I looked it up. Okay, I realized it wasn't just a little bit stronger than weed, but at the same time, I kind of was expecting that too. Like I was thinking of just seeing some crazy stuff. No. About 10-15 minutes goes by, and I get like super giggly. Kind of like if I smoked weed and drank one beer, just really like light and giggly. And I remember just bursting out laughing. Just looking at my friend, just laughing. He started laughing. We're sitting there on the brink of crying, laughing. And then out of nowhere, I just say, "This is the bee's knees, man." And he just dies. Like he just literally crying, laughing. Like it was like the funniest thing in the world. My other friend had to go downstairs and talk to their parents and say goodnight. And by the time they came back up, their eyes were so fucking big. It was like, I'm already tripping already. This is insane. And it was crazy because usually it takes about, 40 minutes to set in, around that, half hour, 40 minutes. This was like 15, 20. Like it was like really quick to set in. So I'm sitting there just kind of like trying to get comfortable. You're a little anxious inside when you're like going into something like this, because especially the first time, because you have no idea what to expect. But the beginning of it was really chill. I remember like just being nervous, like I wasn't all the way into it, but like at the same time, it wasn't like unpleasant. I didn't feel like bad or anything whatsoever. I remember they had a bunch of black lights with all sorts of like neon posters all over the room, and we were smoking cigarettes, so like there was like a haze in the room a little bit. It looked absolutely so cool because everything was just kind of wiggling and not really intensely. It was just like the outlines of everything almost had a glow around them, and everything that was affected by the black light was very bright to me. And at that point, it felt like it was a little bit stronger than weed. It was almost exactly what they said it was going to be. And then things got weird. So out of nowhere, one of the friends that I was with decided to roll up this monster 2-gram joint. They stuck 2 papers together. I don't know why. I mean, you could put 2 grams in a king size. I don't think we had king size. So they stuck 2 1 1/4 papers together. They're rolling up this big ass joint. And like, I'm just kind of sitting there giggling like, yeah, let's smoke it. They finish rolling it, spark it up. We smoke the entire thing. It just goes around. I don't even know how I'm smoking like this when I'm that young. It was almost like during the trip, whenever I'd smoke weed, it was like not affect me all the way. It was really weird. We smoked the entire thing down to like this much left. And then their mom came bursting in the door. "What are you doing smoking? The entire house smells like weed." She was so mad because we looked over and we forgot to open the windows, dude. We were just straight boxing the upper level of their house. Start like right at the beginning of our trip. I'm sitting there, bugging out. I am like absolutely terrified. I'm not even supposed to be there, and she knows that. Like, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be there. And my friend looked at their mom and was like, Mom, relax. Not even like mean or anything like some previous stories on my channel. Like, they actually had a chill conversation. They got up and they diffused it and everything, but she was so livid because apparently there was like a thick hot box of weed and cigarette smoke on top of the entire second level of the house. And like, everybody felt bad. Like, we didn't even open the windows. We used to always put a fan, like one of those double fans in the window. Not this time. And I'll always have a vivid memory of her face coming in just pure anger, looking directly at me. It was almost like, it's really hard to describe, but like, it was almost like she had like a glow around her that was just pure anger. Like, it was like I was looking into the sun almost. It was just like pure anger coming at us, and it like got my heart rate up. I had all these racing thoughts like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to go home. My dad's gonna call the cops on me because I'm fucking messed up on drugs. I'm gonna have to go to the hospital, freaking out in my mind. Holy shit, it was intense. But after the situation was diffused, my friend came back inside, sat down, we opened the windows, and she's like, oh, glad that went over good. And then we sparked the rest of the joint because we were tripping and literally forgot about it. Like, it was it was so funny. We smoked the rest of it. Their mom didn't come in the room at all for the rest of the night. But it was funny because the amount of time that they sat down from diffusing the situation to smoking again was not even 10 minutes. So I just realized I've been saying their mom, and that would make the later part in the story really weird. Only one of the friends I was with there, that was her mom. So yeah, just to clarify. You'll understand it a little bit. And as soon as we sat down to smoke the rest of the joint, that was when the trip was like full force hitting me. Like, I remember looking around at everything, and everything was so different. It was just like I'd never seen anything like this. Just everything just had its own glow to it. Everything was, you know, going back and forth really slightly. It wasn't like super intense, but it was like everything that had light coming through it just looked really different. I remember looking over at my friend with his slide phone. He was texting away, and I was like looking at the screen, just like, what is going on? Because all the letters and the numbers that he was typing looked like just squiggly lines, just kind of like moving really quick around each other, and then they would bounce off the screen and stuff. And I remember looking at that like, what is going on right now, man? That is fucking weird. And I have a very vivid memory of when I was smoking a cigarette. We were smoking so many cigarettes. Whenever I did acid, I used to smoke like a legit whole pack of cigarettes in no time. It was disgusting, but at the same time, it was like, it didn't even affect me, and I just needed one after the other. I remember whenever I'd smoke a cigarette and I'd go to ash it, I think it might have had something to do with the black light, because black lights make cigarettes look all cool and stuff. But whenever I'd ash it, like the ash that would come off of the cigarette, like bursted off of the cigarette, like swooped down to the ashtray and then came back up and were like spinning really slowly around my hand. It was so cool. I remember it was like one of the coolest things I ever saw. I was just sitting there ashing the cigarette over and over again. Like, I would be excited, take another drag, not even caring about smoking, just to sit there and ash it. Another thing that I vividly remember is in the corner of their room, they had this poster of like a gas mask, like someone with a gas mask on. It wasn't like super negative or anything. It just was somebody with a gas mask with like smoke coming up, you know, like a stoner poster. But it was like one of the ones that reflected to the black light. I remember just looking up at it, and like it looked way different. It almost looked like a wolf or like a dog or something to me during the trip. I remember like after when I woke up the next day, I looked up and I'm like, that's a gas mask? But I remember looking up at it, and as soon as I like kind of put it together in my head that it wasn't like a wolf, like it was something else, I remember just hearing in the distance, it was almost like there was somebody outside the window with a radio that was like screaming military sergeant stuff, like go here, go here. But like it was so muffled and distorted, and it sounded like it was like echoing off the walls, like I was in some like bubble or something. Really weird. That was like one of the only times I ever had an audible hallucination. Like I thought I was in some fucking war zone in my head. But it was like chill at the same time. It was so hard to describe. But I remember this picture of the poster just like connects with that memory in my mind. So here's where things got really weird. My friend decides to put on this movie, which apparently is like a really strange movie just in general. Like if you watch this movie when you're sober, you won't be able to understand the plot or like really anything that happens, just because of how just the sheer randomness of it. This dude decides to put it on the old TV on the first time I'm ever tripping. He pops it in, and I'm the kind of person, when I watch movies and TV shows, I really pay attention because I want to understand the plot and get what I'm watching. So I'm sitting there fried out of my mind, stoned. We were like continually smoking bowls throughout this entire time, but every time I'd smoke, it was like 5 minutes of stoned, and then I'd think about it for a second, like, oh, I'm tripping. I'm not just high, I'm tripping. And then it was like the acid took the weed out of my mind and just threw it out of there. Just get the fuck out, bro. This isn't your time, okay? Completely threw it away. It was almost like a waste to smoke weed at that point, because like it wouldn't do anything after 5 minutes at least. So I'm sitting there just staring at this TV, like just not losing my mind, but just like losing my train of thought. I'm thinking about like a bunch of things, and then I'm like almost come to a conclusion of what I'm thinking about, and then start another thought process. And like it was really confusing to me because I'd never been like this before, and so I was just trying to distract myself by looking at the TV and trying to understand what's going on. It didn't help. I couldn't tell you what was actually happening on the TV. I remember trying to watch the movie another time, but there's a couple faces in the movie. Like, I remember the faces on the TV were the weirdest thing ever. It was almost like that was all I could see whenever I'd watch the TV during this time. Like, I'd look at the TV and like everything around their face would just be blurry or like tunnel visioned out. And whenever I'd look at their face, it would be like morphing in some disturbing way. Like, it was like part of their face would scrunch in, and like their head looked way too big for their face, kind of like mine. And it would like confuse me because it would change in size, and like every scene, somebody else's face would look the same as the other person's face, almost like it was the same actor playing every role of this movie. And it was so confusing to me. And then their faces would like turn into some people that I'd seen in my life. Like, I was so mind blown that I saw someone else's face, like someone I knew outside of this entire experience, and their face was on the TV like they were an actor in this movie. And I'm sitting in there asking all sorts of questions like, what's going on here? And they're like, Cody, it's just the acid. And I'm like, how does that help me in my mind? But like my response was, okay. Okay. And I just, tried to glue myself back to the TV. So I have a couple very vivid images that I saw on this TV. Like I said, I don't know exactly what was going on in the TV, but I can tell you what I was seeing. So I was seeing this repeating scene, like a scene that would happen over and over again, of this giant white wall, kind of like the Wall Pink Floyd album cover. I remember seeing that. Like, I hadn't even heard the album before, but I remember seeing it and then figuring out that like a lot of their music had to do with psychedelics, and I was like, whoa, crazy, dude. But I saw this giant, like, kind of white brick wall, and there was someone trying to throw, it was either a person or like a basket or something. It was like they were trying to like lift them off the ground and throw it over the wall. And every time that it would just make it over the wall, the whole scene would switch, and everything around this wall would change. Like, it would go from fall to spring to summer to winter. Like, there'd be snow coming down just in a matter of seconds, and then it would warp around, and it would be the same scene of someone trying to throw someone over a wall, but like different. Like, the lighting would be different. It would, oh man, it was so confusing to me. And at that point, I look over at my friend, I'm like, listen, this is not a movie. Like, what is happening here? This is not right. This can't be right. And they're like, Cody, relax. It's just the acid. And I'm like, okay. And I remember getting like frustrated a little bit. Like, I need to watch a movie that I can understand to calm down right now, but there's just nothing. I look at this TV and it's just confusion. And I remember after that, in the TV, I remember seeing some dude ride a bicycle, or no, tricycle. It had the 3 wheels, the tricycle. It was like a mini tricycle, kind of like the dude from Saw. You want to play a game? Like that guy, like straight up just riding a tricycle around. I don't remember what the background was, but I just remember seeing some random dude, not the Saw dude, but some random dude just riding a tricycle. And in the last image that I can remember from the TV was seeing, it was like, you take an apple, cut it in half, like right down the center, and then bring one half to right here. So it was like like two halves of an apple like this, and they were just spinning around. Like, if you can hopefully get that visualization there, but it was two halves of an apple kind of put like this together, just spinning around, and I was mesmerized by it. It looked like something from Assassin's Creed, like the golden apple or whatever the hell that's called. Now that I'm thinking about it, like when you're in the Assassin's Creed like starting menu, and like all those lines and random shit are just going over your vision and stuff, like all over the menus. That's kind of like what the TV was looking like. It was like just random lines and just like splotches of color, and then there'd be like what I'm focusing on, and like that's all I could see, and then everything around it was like you couldn't really focus on it just because of how fucking weird what you were looking at was. So here's where the story gets a little funny, okay? My two friends, and this is why I mentioned that they were not like brother and sister, because that'd be fucking weird. They were dating at the time, and one of them looked over to me and was like, "Cody, you should go downstairs for a little bit." And I was like, "Why? Why? I can't be alone right now." And they're like, "We're gonna fuck." And I'm just like, like, and I immediately felt so bad because I was thinking in my mind, like, all right, I'm gonna go downstairs, lay down on the couch, go to sleep. But at the same time, I was fucking freaking out in my head, like, holy shit, I'm gonna be alone. It's gonna be dark. I'm gonna see some bad stuff. I'm gonna have a bad trip. Like, all in a matter of seconds, these thoughts were going into my head, and I'm like, I can't be alone right now. Like, I was at a loss of words. I didn't know what to say. I was so confused, so scared. And then they were like, "You sure? Like, you're okay with this?" And I'm just like, I won't even look. I'll just go over here. And I went in the corner next to the TV and just kind of like tried to only focus my vision on this TV, just trying to watch the movie, which was kind of shitty because it was confusing me, but at the same time, like, I felt bad. I wanted to leave them alone so they could do their thing. A little weird, I know. So I just go over to the corner and I'm just staring at this TV, trying to make up anything of it. Thankfully, it wasn't like a fucking porn movie, dude. They weren't making a lot of noises. They were just doing their own thing in the corner. And like, I was not watching them. Okay, listen, I know there's gonna be some fucking weird comments like, "Oh, dude, Cody." No. Okay, listen to me. I wanted to give them privacy, but I was terrified of being alone, dude. And thankfully that part of the story was over pretty quick. But I will say the one real shit part about what happens, okay, we were watching the movie on like an old VHS, and like the movie ended about halfway through what they were doing. So I had nothing to watch. I'm sitting there with my phone off because I can't have it on because my dad's trying to, you know, figure out where I am, track my phone and all that bullshit. So I'm just staring at the TV with static on it for like 20 minutes or something, dude. I was all right with it though. Just staring at static because I was just out of my mind tripping, just like, I remember like one time that somebody told me like the noise of the static on a TV was like supposed to be the first sound of the universe. So I thought about that. This is the beginning of the universe, you know, thinking about stupid shit like that. And then we kind of like regrouped in a circle, started smoking some more weed, smoking cigarette after cigarette. And like, I have this very vivid memory of smoking a cigarette and realizing I had to go to the bathroom, realizing I had to pee, but I was afraid to get up and go be alone. Like I said, I was terrified of being alone. Just, I don't know why. It was just something I was experiencing during this. And I remember sitting there smoking, thinking like every time I'd worry about being alone, like going and doing it and being alone, everything would be like a shade of yellow. Like everything in the room, it was almost like you put those sunglasses on, like the construction workers wear that have like the yellow in them. Like everything was just a shade of yellow. And then every time I thought about it would be okay and like, I'm doing okay, I'm fine, like everything would change to a shade of blue. And it would flip-flop back and forth. And it got to the point where I did it so many times, I was like, whoa, like, I can control my anxiety. I can control a freak out. This is crazy. This is insane that I can just change everything just by thinking about it. And then I got the courage. I'm like, all right, guys, I'm going to the bathroom. And they're like, all right, Cody, you'll be okay. Because I was sitting there talking to him like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom, but I don't know if I can get up right now. I remember standing up and I was just like, you know, fell back down because it was all dizzy and shit. Everything was like moving and stuff. And they started laughing at me. But then I got up and I went to the bathroom. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror after I went to the bathroom. And then I just like looking at my eyes. Like, staring at my pupils, just like dead staring at my pupils, just like, whoa. And I didn't really have any like face morphing crazy mirror experiences that some people have on psychedelics, but that was towards the end of the trip. Like as soon as I went pee, I felt so much better, dude, just so much better. We went back into the room and we were just smoking, and then my friend like had this cool ass idea. Okay, she opened the window and there was like a little roof section to her house that we went out onto. We smoked some bowls, we smoked a cigarette, and like just looking up at the sky with the trees and like the moon in the background, looking like a light bulb, man. Every time I've ever done a psychedelic, the moon, like especially on a clear night, the moon is always looking like a fucking light bulb out of a Disney film, like truly. I'll always remember that. It was right before summer, so the, you know, the nights were still cool. And we were just smoking cigs up there, and it was a really memorable time. And that was pretty much the end of the trip. I remember we threw something else on the TV. I tried to go to sleep. That shit keeps you awake like no other. And like I managed to fall asleep at like 6 a.m. or something. Woke up at about 9 or 10 a.m. And this was probably the coolest experience out of the entire thing to me. This was the coolest part. And I'm not sure if it had anything to do with the part where I almost felt like I could control my anxiety and everything would go from yellow to blue for a very decent amount of time, like a couple weeks at least, if anything months. I just felt like a weight was lifted off of my shoulders. I barely had any anxiety. I felt really positive, like I had a really positive mindset about everything, almost kind of like a old school hippie, like I love everything. Like I just felt so like at peace, and I didn't really worry about anything. Things just kind of seemed to happen, and like I just kind of rolled with it. I didn't really overthink anything like I kind of do now. It was truly one of the most enlightening, incredible experiences of my entire life. I had it way too young. You should not be doing this kind of stuff that young. But at the same time, man, like if I could go back and do it any differently, I definitely wouldn't have, because it was crazy. It wasn't, all of it wasn't fun. I'll tell you that for one thing. Like there was a lot of points where it was very uncomfortable and I wanted to stop, but like you can't really do much, huh? But like at the same time, like it was just so you can't even put it into words how different and how it just strange that experience is. This story actually goes into another story that I'm going to save for a future video, because this video is going to be hella long. I had to restart the camera twice. That means that there's 40 minutes of raw recording that I'm going to have to go through. So leave a like on the video if you guys enjoyed. I have a couple more trip stories that some of them actually better than this. Well, I feel like this was the most intense experience I've ever had with this kind of stuff, but I have some other crazy stories that I'm going to have to bring to you. Leave a like on the video if you guys want to see more stories about this. But either way, let me know in the comments, first of all, where you're watching the video from. I always love to know. And second, if you've ever had any experiences like this. And I'd like to reiterate one more time, I strongly recommend not doing this as a kid. Wait until you're a full-fledged adult. And if you do choose to do so for yourself, always use a test kit. And I don't want anybody out there to go and do this because they saw this video. I am in no way trying to condone or recommend you to do anything like this. So for YouTube's policies and, you know, the sake of their guidelines, I don't recommend you to do it at all, okay? Really what I was just trying to say, if the opportunity ever presents itself, for sure just use a test kit, okay? It's worth the extra money, waiting a couple days for the test kit to come in the mail so you don't die. It is truly one of the most mystical, intense, strange, confusing, there's so many words that you could use, experiences of my entire life. Absolutely insane. And a lot of people are probably going to ask me, will I do it again? And maybe I will do it at some point in my life. Anytime soon, definitely not. Okay, anytime soon, no. But I'll probably do it again in my life because it's something that I definitely enjoyed, but there's a phase of my life where I went through it. And I remember one of the last times, I had a good time. It's not like I ended it on a bad note or anything. I just remember, like, I think I've done this enough for a while, a long time. I think this is it, you know. Pretty much all of my friends were kind of thinking the same thing because we definitely overdid it a little bit at some point. It is for sure not a party drug. It's for sure not something to do to get fucked up or to see cool shit, because it'll kick you in the ass if you do it and have that kind of thought process about it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this life story. Leave a like if you guys did. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Snapchat, links are always in the description. One very important thing before this video ends. Follow my cat on Instagram. It's right here on screen. You see that, dude? You can't miss it. Type it in your phone right now. Okay, it's in a link in the description. If typing an ad out is too much to ask, I know. It's a lot to ask from you, but you can always just click on the link too. Huge thank you to everybody who's been supporting me on Patreon. For $1 or $2 a month, you can support the channel and get access to the secret videos on my unlisted channel. I'll throw the names of everybody on screen right now. Huge thank you to all your support. It really does help me out. Thank you for spending the time out of your day to watch my video. I hope you guys have a snazzy day. Stay high, stay lifted, and stay snazzy. Peace.